Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Hope you're all having had a great day yesterday and nice evening. We've migrated a little bit. We've moved into the woods just past the house, haven't we? So to get a better connection, because of course yesterday our audio wasn't very good. So we did lots of speed tests around our garden to find the best spot.
We just jumped over the fence. The fence is over there by about 20 metres, and we're in the woods, which is delightful because, as you can hear, the robins are singing very loudly, but the mosquitoes are also buzzing quite loudly as well. And it's tick season here in the New Forest.
And there's lots of ticks around.
Yeah, and I found a tick the other day. And I intended to film it with my little mobile microscope. So I put it on the
kitchen
side.
Worktop.
I put it on the side of the kitchen worktop, alive, obviously. And then I went into the front room, which we've converted to an office, and I forgot about it. And so when I came back out, the tick was absent. And
you've got to, put it in something.
I did. I intended to put it in a little glass so it couldn't climb up the sides. But
so now there is and it's not a small tick either.
No,
it's
quite
a giant
large.
one.
It was quite large.
Ready to pop. So that's great.
Well, listen, ticks are interesting animals. Maybe we should do a thing about ticks, actually, because they have obviously an interaction with humans. They have Lyme disease, which is very serious. And also, the other serious issue is obviously when they get onto our pets. Maybe next week we talk about ticks. I'll try and if I find the tick in the kitchen.
Yeah,
I'll have a good look round.
That's what we're all going to be doing today. Search around.
Should we go back to Osprey?
Let's go back to Osprey. So for a few weeks, we have been following CJ7, who is the female osprey at Paul Harbour. Now, we were watching and we were hoping desperately that a male would return. And of course, if he did, it would be the first time in 200 years that we'd have breeding ospreys in the south of the UK. However, unfortunately, our male did not return. And we were...
Any male?
Any male. Yeah. Any male that would breed with her, it just wasn't happening. But of course, she showed utter dedication to that nest. And in fact, she laid her first unfertilized egg about a week ago. Since then, another one's come. And this morning at 7:26, she laid a third. Now, these eggs are, of course, unfertilized. But it goes to show how dedicated she is to breeding in that site, which is still really positive. So perhaps next year, if a male does come along, we'll have breeding ospreys again.
It's interesting, though, that she knows that they're unfertilised.
She does.
So she's not sitting on them and incubating them. She's laid them through having to go through that biological process and a determination, but she, aside from a little bit of incubation, most of the time she's been leaving them and flying off and looking after herself rather than putting the eggs first.
She's more concerned about her body condition than she is about those eggs at the moment.
Yeah.
And because, of course, biologically, it'll be a waste of energy to incubate those as if they were fertilized.
So this introduction is getting off to a staggered start. That's fine. That's what happens in this. This is not a disaster. It's not a mistake. This is part of a process that these animals and the project coordinators will have to go through. It's brilliant that she's come back, built a nest and stuck with it, as Megan says. But of course, in other parts of the country, osprey reintroductions have been working brilliantly for a number of years, notably Rutland. And they've had their first chick hatched this year. So this is Rutland in east central England, Rutland Water, where those ospreys have been reintroduced there. And they've been breeding there successfully for a number of years. First chick, we've got a photograph of that there. It's difficult to see the chick. And you can obviously look at this on the webcams as well that they've got set up there. And it's already started being fed. They've started to feed that.
Yeah, there was a video on Twitter. If you want to follow them at Rutland Ospreys, you can see there's a video of the first feeding of the first chick of the year, which is really exciting. Of course, so make sure to check that out, and of course do keep watching our Birds of Paul Harbour Ospreys too, because you never know, there was a migrant osprey seen flying from the south over Paul Harbour up north. So I mean,
remember, it was yesterday.
This was yesterday. So I mean, birds are coming in still, but of course, it is most likely too late.
And if you want to find out more about it, you can watch a live update on YouTube, Birds of Paul Harbour YouTube, tonight at 7 p.m. and they'll tell you exactly what's going on and their hopes for the future of this project as well.
It's going to be a good Q&A, so make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock on YouTube.
The feather quiz. Should we do the feather quiz? This week's feathers. Now, these are a couple of beauties, I've got to say. These are a couple of beauties. Look at that. Okay. Same barring. Remember, all of the feathers that we're showing you this week are of UK predatory birds. Well, I mean, predatory birds that occur in the UK, they might occur elsewhere in the world. So obviously this is a tail feather, very long. Look at the length of that. Here's my hand, the scale. should have a 10-pence piece as well. I don't have one. And here is a secondary feather from this, not the same bird, but the same species. Beautiful,
gorgeous, aren't they?
I've got to
Very
say,
elegant.
yeah, these are lovely, and these are sort of, they're up there in my sort of top 20 feathers in my feather collection. Yeah, I collected them myself, obviously, and I was really pleased to find them because they indicated the presence of that bird quite close to where I am, which is really, really good.
You have to show us number 1 tomorrow.
Number 1, no, I don't know if I can get that out. Wrapped up in mothballs, carefully protected, it's all sealed in plastic. Okay. You can imagine.
Yeah, I can realistically say that would probably be the case.
It is the case. Okay, we'd ask you to turn on your live notifications as well. If you turn on your live notifications on Twitter and Facebook, that means that every time we're live, you can tune in and listen to inane banter about ticks and feathers being encased in plastic and mothballs. Or sometimes more fascinating stuff from some of our guests. So I think we better introduce one of our guests quickly for fascinating stuff.
Absolutely. So this week, of course, is Hedgehog Awareness Week. And last week we were joined by the fantastic Hugh Warwick. And I'm very pleased to say that he's back again to give us some more fantastic hedgehog info. Hi, Hugh. How are you?
Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning. And welcome to the top of my shed. This is the plan, to come and make myself in a slightly more outdoorsy setting. But there's a wren behind me, which is so loud that I'm actually having trouble hearing what you're saying. It's the difficulties of working with wildlife. So I've been having a lot of fun having a think about what hedgehogs get up to. Hedgehog Awareness Week. One of the most crucial parts of Hedgehog Awareness Week is ensuring that hedgehogs can get into your garden. And so I was thinking, well, it'd be good to get some videos of what hedgehogs get up to. Hedgehogs actually making their way through the holes that we make, those 13-centimetre holes for the hedgehog highways. And so last night I put a call out on the Hedgehog Highways Facebook group, which I set up just because the petition which I run became unmanageable when it reached sort of 500,000 signatures. And so we've got 7,000 people on the Facebook group. And I just got this stream of amazing videos come in of hedgehogs up to various things, including hedgehog mating is quite a complex issue, as you can imagine. And maybe at some point we should revisit that with very careful use of language. But my goodness me, the videos I got sent bordered on what has to be described as pornography. It was really quite astounding. Anyway, so the point is, hedgehogs, you think they've got little legs. Here we go. I have my stunt hedgehog here. It's very tame. Some people think it's pining for the fjords, but I know it's my friend. And they only have little legs. And so therefore they're not going to go very far. But actually, when I've radio tracked hedgehogs, they end up traveling really considerable distances. I've ended up following a female hedgehog for over 2 kilometers across the Devon countryside just on a single night's transect. And it was one of those, they never walk in a straight line. They're all over the place. So they can walk a very long way. And one of the things which has been really interesting with the research that people get up to, there's a colleague of mine and a friend, Nigel Reeve. He did some really groundbreaking work in a Surrey golf course. And he showed how just one male hedgehog over 12 nights could cover the entire 30-hectare golf course. And this is actually one of the best habitats for a hedgehog, because there are large gardens with supplementary feeding taking place around them. But the hedgehog would cover the entire space. So he started looking at what areas these animals would use. And he found that on the whole, male hedgehogs would have a home range of 30 hectares. Female hedgehogs about 10 hectares. They don't have territories they defend, but they have home ranges which they sort of grumpily share. These are an animal that have been self-isolating for a very long time. They practice this thing called mutual avoidance, where they tend to avoid each other, apart from when they don't, and then they bundle each other around the place in a rather dramatic display of aggression. But the distances meant that you begin to think, what do hedgehogs really need to survive as a population? Individual, 30 hectares for a male, 10 for a female. But if you then get a minimum viable population analysis, and we got Tom Morehouse at the University of Oxford to do this for us, absolutely fantastic analysis, looking at the requirements. And basically, you imagine your island. You've got your one island with one hedgehog on it. It's not a viable population, one male hedgehog. You've got an island the size of a football pitch with 1 million hedgehogs. It's not a viable population. So somewhere between those two, you've got your viable population, the area they need and the numbers they need to begin with. And what Tom Morehouse's work, which he was doing for the Hedgehog Street campaign, showed was that you need a minimum number of hedgehogs of 32. Obviously, this is a computer model, so it is open to debate, and an area of a square kilometre, basically. And so now you begin to think about the problems that hedgehogs face with the boundaries, the lines we create in the landscape. That square kilometre is very hard to find in great habitat like suburbia because we put up the barriers. And then even more clearly shown was an amazing researcher called Jessica Schaus from Nottingham Trent University doing a People's Trust for Endangered Species study. And she has been putting GPS tags on the hedgehogs. Now, as I've been getting older, I really relish this new technology because radio tracking hedgehogs all night long is actually really quite hard work. Put the GPS tag on the back of the hedgehog and you'll get a map which has got a dance of a hedgehog as it moves across the landscape. And this gives you a really clear idea of the numbers of times hedgehogs will cross roads, the numbers of times they'll go between gardens. It tells us that we need to be leaving each hedgehog roughly access to 20 gardens for them to be happy. Again, we look at the hedgehog and think, oh, it'll fit in our garden, it won't need many, but actually they need access to 20. And then Jessica took this further. She's got a dance of a video of 7 different hedgehogs as they move across the landscape. And you can see really clearly from that video that the males, which are red, green, pink and yellow, all move far long greater distances than the females. The females tend to be fairly stay at home. All of these things show us that what we really need to do is to make sure that hedgehogs get access to hedgehog highways. And in this period of shutdown, lockdown, however it's going to change, we have been forced to be at home. We've been forced to do stuff in our gardens, and we've been forced to look over the fence, maybe, if we're lucky enough to have good neighbours, and chat to our neighbours. It's at that point you say, and how about making the hole? Just 13 centimetres across. It doesn't need to be very big. You get your neighbours to talk to their neighbours and get their neighbours to talk to their neighbours. Spread hedgehog love down the street. You end up creating Hedgehog Street, which is the campaign that we run. And this is absolutely crucial because you're creating a habitat for hedgehogs. You're also creating a degree of connection with your neighbours in a way which is very difficult to be hostile about. And the end result of this is we come out of this whole virus process and we're going to have to celebrate. There will have to be a street party. And I call on it to become a hedgehog street party. Hedgehog street party, because then you can do what I did in Whitney last year. You can have the great hedgehog bake-off. And that means you get cake. You get cakes in the shape of hedgehogs. And that is a good thing on so many levels. So this is my call for today. Talk to your neighbours, make the whole, and create hedgehog streets.
Hedgehog cake. Oh,
Yeah.
now we're talking.
Yeah, we're out of baking material down here, actually, aren't we?
We are. We're going to have to go to the shop when we're next appropriate and buy all the. I'm making a hedgehog cake.
Okay, let me show me on the fingers of one of your hands how many cakes you've ever baked.
Oh, got loads.
Oh, come on.
I baked a lot of cakes. I used to do it with my dad all the time. Honestly, I am a seasoned cake baker.
Yeah, I mean, look at the amount of weight I put on due to all of the excessive cakes that I've eaten that Megan's been baking during the last 7 weeks.
Well, not in the last 7 weeks, I haven't.
Okay,
but
let's get back to hedgehogs, yeah, because there's not going to be any danger of us baking a hedgehog cake down here. We'll definitely, make the holes, but we won't be baking the cake. Hugh, the thing is, just give us some perspective here, because this is an animal under enormous pressure in the environment, catastrophic declines over much of the UK. Any little assistance, that people can make could be enormously beneficial, yeah?
Absolutely. And one of the key problems that they face is this issue called habitat fragmentation, the chopping of their landscape up into smaller and smaller species. And it can really fool people into thinking they've got an okay population of hedgehogs because they've seen a hedgehog. But actually that might be the last one in an island which has been created by busy roads, by fences, by canals, by railway lines, all of these things chopping the landscape up into smaller pieces. And it works on so many different scales. I mean, our garden fence is porous into our neighbour's garden, and therefore I can see from up on top of the roof. And this goes on and on. They're all porous. And the park to my left has got a fence which is porous. We're in a very fortunate area. But even so, there's 2 busy roads on to the left and to the right of me, and there's a canalised brook behind me, all of which actually end up creating barriers to movement. Now, the population decline we know is 30% in urban areas since the year 2000, 50% in rural areas. And my guess, based on the fact I've done lots of talks with groups like the Women's Institute, which is where I got the love of cake from. You see, this is something that's like tangent on that thing. You see, all rock stars like Chris, you have your rider when you're turning up to do an event, and whether it's jelly beans and champagne or whatever, I don't know what yours is, but mine's
it's comfy dog beds for my poodles.
That's actually very good. And so mine's cake. And then sometimes you'll go to a Women's Institute and you'll find that they misunderstood and that they present you with a piece of cake. It's like, no, No, you really didn't get that. So going, what was I talking about? Anyway, the point is, get distracted by cake very easily at these things. It's so anyway, the point is, we've got an opportunity with Hedgehog Awareness Week, with an awful lot of attention being paid to hedgehogs, to just put that in your mind, seed that idea that now is a time to make those little connections, because we can make a difference. And if the population decline is, as I suggest it is, around 90 to 95% since the end of the Second World War, with the nation's favourite animal, far and above any bird, the hedgehog is the nation's favourite animal, and it is a staggering decline.
Mm. Now, tell us a bit about your petition, because when I checked earlier this morning, 698,104 people.
123 people, actually. I've got that right here. There we go.
Have signed that. That's a tremendous success, Hugh. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. I mean, I was very, very suspicious about the whole idea of the petition, because I thought it was such a small ask to be calling on all new developments to come with hedgehog holes built in as the first instance. But what I realise now is that actually this is a stepping stone, because what we've got there is nearly 700,000 people who have made some element of commitment towards helping hedgehogs. Even collectivism may be derided by some, but it is a first step. And it's meaning that they're, again, sowing the seeds of consciousness about the problems that the hedgehogs face. Also, it opens them up to the fact that normally it's only once every couple of weeks I send an update to them, but it's been a little more during Hedgehog Awareness Week. You get sometimes funny, sometimes serious, sometimes downright eccentric articles, updates from me along the way. And the success has been, we've managed to change the National Planning Policy Framework. So that now there is guidance given to all new developments that they should come with hedgehog highways, which is amazing. Similarly, swift bricks have to be included as well, are guided to be included too. But for me, the biggest step has been, we've got was the fourth largest housing developer in the country, Bovis Homes, got in touch with us because one of their members of staff is mad about hedgehogs. And she got in touch and just said, look, we could do this. It's going to cost us nothing to put in hedgehog highway fences in our new developments. It's a trivial amount. And we get to help hedgehogs. What's not to like about that? So Bovis Homes have gone with that. Wherever possible, they're going to have hedgehog highways put into place. And so for me, I actually think we might get to a position where the developers recognize that this is just a simple win. For them, it costs them nothing. It's a massive publicity boost, and it helps hedgehogs. But more importantly, don't tell the hedgehog people this, it helps everything else. I mean, point is, I love wildlife. Hedgehogs are great, but I just love wildlife. I love nature. And this is a way of helping so much else. When you help hedgehogs, you help so much other wildlife too.
I think that's a fantastic
couple
point.
Of questions.
If you do want to find the petition online, it's called Help Save Britain's Hedgehogs with Hedgehog Highways, and it's on change.org. I've just signed it. It takes 2 seconds to go and do, so make sure you do that. So you want to boost that up to 1 million pretty quickly. But yes, there's lots of questions coming in for you, Hugh, which is fantastic. Imogen, who's age 11, says that she is designing a hedgehog home with her mum. Do they need to put in separate compartments?
Oh, that's so sweet. And curtains. No, I mean, the simple thing, hedgehogs, on the whole, as I said, they've been doing this social isolation for quite some time. They tend to have mutual avoidance. This doesn't mean that they won't occasionally share a box. The idea is you create a structure into which hedgehogs can bring leaves. They can bring vegetation of whatever's around. And that's really crucial. Don't get too tidy in your garden. Make sure there's some leaves around the place and let the hedgehogs bring it in. They will then make a nest by rolling around. This is the fantastic thing, that coat of spines. I mean, it is just modified hair, but it is absolutely fantastic as they roll around in it. They pull all the leaves into a sort of laminate structure. So I would suggest don't put in compartments. Make sure you if you go to the British Hedgehog Preservation Society website, you will find guidance notes there on how to build one of these hedgehog houses. And rather than put compartments in it, maybe put up 2 in your garden in different places along the margins of the garden, and just see which one works and have an experiment. Make 2 and see if the one on the south side of the garden is more attractive to hedgehogs than the one on the north side of the garden. These are all good things to learn.
Yeah, and if they don't work straight away and there's no hedgehog that comes in, don't be afraid to move them, right? If it's not a suitable area.
Absolutely, but also just take time. I mean, I've had people getting really quite angry at me, but I've built my hedgehog house, and then they turned up and found the hedgehog has built its nest behind it. Because what the hedgehog house did was create a bit of a structure against which the hedgehog can load up a bunch of vegetation. Ideally, if you think about the hedgehog's name, what you're trying to recreate is the picture of the bottom of a hedge. That's their home. And so you want something into which they can pull stuff, roll around the place and make themselves an insulated nest.
Didn't like the curtains in that one, Hugh, obviously.
Hugh, so when we're making hedgehog highways, of course, with the holes in our fences, that might allow cats to come through. And that's one of the questions that we had a lot last week when you were on, and I know is probably coming through now. I mean, how do we prevent cats coming into our gardens if we don't want them through hedgehog highways? What's the deal with that?
Well, it has to be a pretty impressively tall fence equipped with all sorts of rollers or spikes or whatever to stop cats getting into your garden in the first place. And if a cat finds the hole, the hedgehog highway hole, and squeezes through it, then if the hole wasn't there, they would have jumped over if they're keen to get into your garden. But was it Stuart Pemberton, I think? Oh, I can't remember the name of the person. I feel really bad now. It has invented the most amazing deterrent to other species using the hole. And so what he's done is create two pieces of wood tunnel in a parallel with the fence, with the hole behind it, so that any animal wanting to go through the hole has to go along the tunnel and then through the hole. And this way, you need to have an exceptionally bendy cat to be able to get through that sort of thing. So hedgehogs will snuffle along the edge. They are edgehogs as well as hedgehogs, and they will find that hole and work their way through. So creating a tunnel running up to the hole in the fence is something which is a way of, it's not going to stop it, but it will help reduce it.
Excellent. Excellent. Hugh, thank you very much for joining us again this morning. Lots of fantastic information about hedgehogs. As I said before, congratulations on the enormous success of your petition and the progress that you've made with Bovis Homes. Let's hope the other developers come on board as well. And stay safe when you'll get climbing down off of your roof.
Oh, that's all right. My wife Zoe brought the filmmakers up here. We've got a pulley system set up. It's going to be okay.
It's good to hear.
Hugh, thanks ever so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you
There
again.
is one quick question I was going to end with. This is not about hedgehogs, but it's about wildlife presenters. Do all wildlife presenters love cake? And I think I can say yes, they do.
Hugh certainly loves his cake.
Yeah.
Yolo loves his cake. I used to have a penchant for cake, but I kind of let it go a little bit. It's more difficult getting good quality vegan cake. When you find it, it's tremendous, but not everyone can deliver that to your dressing room.
I'm on the case. I'm on the cake.
On the cake. Hugh, see you again. Take care.
You. Bye.
Take care. And if you'd like to follow Hugh, you can at Hedgehog Hugh on Twitter, of course. Visit Hugh's website, which I can't remember if it's HughWarwick.com or hedgehoghugh.com. And there you can find information about the books that he's written. He's written loads of books. A Prickly Affair was one, of course, about the animals which drive his greatest passion in life, hedgehogs. But this one, Linescapes, is also integrally related to that. It's about all of the lines that crisscross our country. Everything from hedgerows, which are beneficial, to roads, which in the case of hedgehogs, of course, can be detrimental. So check out all of that. And if you haven't signed the petition, please come on, let's try and get that up to 1 million. That would be absolutely brilliant.
Also, remember to share it, sign it, and then please share it with your followers too. That's most important.
Indeed. Lockdown has been a time where a lot of people have turned their minds and their hands to creative things. And Simon de Glanville, Freddie Clare and Alice Jones are 3 filmmakers in North London. And they've made, I think, a very beautiful, a remarkable film in Peckham and Walthamstow, where they've been taking their daily exercise. So yes, they've been exercising, but they've been doing a little bit of filmmaking too. And they've made this film called Intermission. Just have a look and listen at this. Fantastic stuff.
Beautiful.
Very, very beautiful, beautifully crafted. It just shows there's all that latent talent out there that, given a few extra hours in the day, can be brought to the fore. And of course, our great wish is that all of that talent, now realised, continues to prosper when the lockdown ends and things begin to get back to the new normal that we're all looking forward to. So many people have found a connection with nature and an ability to engage with it in a creative way, either doing conservation things, gardening things,
painting, poetry,
all of the things that have been going on, and filmmaking, of course. And if you'd like to see that again, you can find it on Vimeo, the Vimeo platform. And if you type in Intermission London Lockdown, you will find it there. Fantastic stuff from Simon, Freddie and Alice. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Now it's Thursday, which only means one thing. Now, the last few Thursdays, we've had a VT from a very special guest who's been showing us how to grow things in our gardens, or in fact in our sheds, on our windowsills. It really doesn't matter. And I'm happy to say that Lee Gardner is back. Lee Gardner from Project Diaries, of course, is back to teach us how to grow something. And this one is really cool.
Thanks guys, and welcome to Project Diaries. I'm Lee Gardner, and today I want to teach you how to grow potatoes. Now, you don't even need a garden for this tutorial. You just need a really tasty potato that you love. This one's a Jersey Royal. It doesn't matter what size, whether it's a Maris Piper or the tiny ones like this. All you need to do is just forget about it for a while and let it go into something called chitting, C-H-I-T-T-I-N-G, and it's basically where the potato eye will then start sprouting like this. And if you forget it for a few weeks, you'll then get a sprout like that. And if you leave it even longer, it's going to go a bit crazy like this. Now, you can still use these regardless whether it's a normal potato like this or one like this. So here's how to do it. Now, you don't even need a garden to grow potatoes. You can grow these pretty much anywhere, whether it be in bags, buckets or raised beds. It's completely up to you. So all you need to do is get yourself the potato. Now, you can use the whole thing or cut it up into sections. You just want to make sure there's a couple of sprouted eyes on each piece. Now, if you are cutting them in half, it's a good idea to allow this piece to scab over slightly by leaving them out in the sun for an hour or two. Then just get yourself a large container and make sure you drill some really good drainage holes. Then just fill the first few inches up with really good, well draining soil, and then place your potatoes on top of the soil around 4 to 5 inches apart. Now, you don't want to bury these too deep right now. You just want to make sure there's around 4 or 5 inches of soil on top of the potatoes. Level it out and then wait for the green to start coming through, and this is going to help you maximise your yield. Once they start looking like this and the shoots are around 4 to 5 inches tall, you then want to backfill again. This is called earthing up, and by using this process it will help you double the amount of potatoes you're going to grow in this one container. Now, you can do this a few times depending on how deep your container is, but you want to go around 5 inches at a time. Once you've backfilled the container to the top and all of your greens are looking as lush as this, you want to wait for this to die back, and then your potatoes will be as mature as they can be. Now, I don't have enough time to go into this, but you really want to look out for potato scab, potato beetles, and definitely never eat green potatoes. These are quite toxic and harmful for your stomach. If your potatoes are coming out green, it's because they've grown too close to the top of the soil, which is why earthing up is so important. Once all the green has died back, it's time to empty your container and see what you've grown. Now, I've done an experiment on soil use here, and all I've used is used coffee grounds and sawdust, and it's really given me a bumper crop. These lovely new potatoes will go perfectly with the mint cuttings that I showed you how to do in the previous video. And not only will you find growing your own potatoes really satisfactory, you'll find they'll taste incredible as well. And it's as easy as that. All you need to do is just sit back and wait between 70 and 120 days. 70 if you want the smaller Jersey Royals, and 120 if you want really nice big jacket potatoes. It's really simple, so hopefully today's video has inspired you to try this at home. If you want to see more tutorials, check out youtube.com/Project Diaries HQ. That's enough from me today. Over to you, Chris and Megan. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Lee Gardner.
How about that? Growing your own potatoes.
I like Lee very much.
Fantastic.
You know, his greatest skill is making everything sound so simple when it is simple. Taking the complication out, he makes everything so immediately doable. And he's got another one, Project Diaries, coming out today. Thursdays is his day on YouTube. So Project Diaries on YouTube. Try and follow Lee. So many simple things that you can do to get things growing on your patch. Now look at me, I've become totally overexposed. A lot of people have been saying that for a long time. So look, what we're going to do is have you seen Danny Boyle's Sunshine film, that fantastic, sci-fi? Here's our interpretation of Danny Boyle's Sunshine. It's total eclipse.
We lost our sanity.
Hold
It's
on,
gone.
you've got to try and find a spot where there's no sun. This is the
you got
trouble.
in here.
We're in the woods to get
dappled.
better signal, but we're being attacked by mosquitoes, ticks, and now a nuclear fireball 93 million miles away. Anyway, look, let's move swiftly on to another fantastic contributor, Matt Briley, who's going to tell us all about some of the commoner UK butterflies that we can see at this time of year. Over to you, Matt.
Now that we've finally had some settled, calm, sunny weather, we're beginning to enjoy the first of our spring butterflies. So let's start off with the brimstone. The brimstone is generally the first butterfly that you see each year. In fact, it might be the definitive butterfly. So the story goes that in days of yore, when the farmers had their cows in the barns overwintering, when they saw the first brimstone butterfly, they would say, that's the fly of the butter. That's the time now that I bring my cows out of the barns and into the fields to start making butter. So the brimstone was the butterfly. The male brimstone, he's really bright, he's garish, he's this bright green. The female, she's more a sort of white gold, the colour of straw. If you're a female brimstone butterfly, you will see the male brimstone butterfly as being even brighter because he's got UV reflectance on his forewings. It's colours that we can't see, but butterflies, they can see in UV, as can moths, some birds, rodents. They can all see in the ultraviolet spectrum. Thinking of the next spring butterfly, the peacock butterfly, that's another butterfly that's got ultraviolet reflectance on its wings. So it overwinters as an adult butterfly, as did the brimstone, and it will hibernate somewhere, say in a log pile. It'll have its wings closed, and this bit of the wing is quite cryptic, quite dark, but when it flashes those wings, you see these fantastic eye dots, and the eye dots have ultraviolet reflectance. If a predator creeps up on it in its winter sleep, it'll flash its wings. The peacock butterfly is a member of the nymphalid family. So are small tortoiseshells, red admirals, comma butterflies. I'm often asked, what can I do for butterflies in my garden? And one of the best things you can do is plant nettles, because the caterpillars of all those nymphalid butterflies, they all eat nettles. So that brings us neatly on to the small tortoiseshell. When you look at the population of small tortoiseshells based on the big butterfly count, which is run by Butterfly Conservation, it suggests that there's been a slump in numbers, and that's been attributed to a parasite called Sturmia bella. It's a fly, it will lay its eggs on nettles, and when the caterpillars come along, they'll eat one of these eggs, and then when they pupate in their chrysalis, what emerges is a Sturmia bella fly instead of a small tortoiseshell butterfly. So we thought small tortoiseshells were having a really bad time. There's not many being recorded. But a chap in St Albans called Malcolm Hull, what he's discovered is that small tortoiseshell butterflies are going into hibernation a lot earlier. Possibly it's a selection pressure from Sturmia bella, the parasite. If you were genetically predetermined to go into hibernation a little bit later, you've been nobbled by the parasite, because that's when the parasite gets going in late summer. But if you're an early hibernator, you're going into hibernation early. When you were a caterpillar, Sturmia bella wasn't around, so you've dodged the bullet. So perhaps very quickly we've ended up with a population of small tortoiseshell butterflies which are early hibernators. Other butterflies to look out for, orange tips, they're just on the wing. You will see the females prospecting the garlic mustard that they lay on, and you will see the males patrolling their territories. The speckled woods are out. They're very territorial. They'll normally be in the same patch of your garden every single day. So plenty of spring butterflies to keep your eyes peeled for. And if you do see them, there's a butterfly conservation app. It's called I Record Butterflies, and that generates really important data that butterfly conservation can then use to help monitor and ultimately protect our beautiful spring butterflies.
Thank you, Matt. Interesting stuff about the small tortoiseshell there, with these parasites affecting when they hibernate, which will have, of course, profound impacts on that population and how well it does in the UK. Changing sign of the times with our butterflies. Thanks again, Matt. And you can follow Matt at Matt Briley on Twitter, of course. And one other thing, the butterfly conservation colouring competition is running. Yes, there's a colouring competition, 3 different age categories. You can download it from their website.
It's beautiful. Lots of different butterflies. They've got this wing scales. You've got everything. So you can use any medium that you'd like. Get creative and send those in to Butterfly. The link is in the comments.
Link's in the comments. You can see it there. And I think the winner's going to be announced next week. So something to do over the weekend whilst there's still time. Okay.
Now, today, of course, there's a few birthdays. So Alexander, who turned 6 today, I got a message from your granddad, Ed, and he says he misses you a lot and hopes you have a fantastic day. So happy birthday, Alexander. And we also have David Booth, who is 70 today. Happy birthday to David. And also, this is someone who we know, Chris. Maya Rose Craig, aka Bird Girl. She does fantastic work in conservation. She encourages diversity within the nature sector. It's her 18th birthday today, so we wish Maya a very, very happy birthday.
Happy birthday to all. Happy birthday to you, Maya. I hope you have a great day. Fantastic stuff. Should we wrap up the competition?
Let's.
Here we are. So here are the feathers. This was the tail feather. Look at that. What a beauty. Stunning. That is. Absolutely huge. And here's the secondary feather from that same bird. Notice they're a bit grayer than typically those other feathers we've seen, which have been predominantly brown. So this is a bird that's slightly grayer with a very, very banded tail. Megs, any answers? Anybody getting any of this one right?
I think lots of people were getting this one right. I know we've had tech difficulties with we have some coming through now. So Facebook, we've got Kieran, Gary, Morgan, Jenny, Ross, Victoria, Sue. Twitter, we've got Karina, Kristen, Imogen. I'm slowing down to give people time to message in. Shane on YouTube, of course. Well done, Shane. Hope you're doing well, Shane. I'm very curious to see who Shane is. So, Shane, if you're watching, we're very interested.
Shane, could you send us a picture of yourself? Because that would be great, because you've got everything right that we've ever done. And it would be great to be able to celebrate your success. So send us a picture.
You're kind of our mystery viewer.
Our mystery quiz master.
Our mystery quiz master, exactly that. But also on YouTube, we've got Hannah, Alicia, Paula, Vivian, Twitter, Michelle, Mike, Mark, Imogen. So lots of people were getting this one right. And well done.
The answer is goshawk. Yes, these are the tail feathers of a female goshawk. How do you tell it's a goshawk and not a buzzard, which also has a banded tail? Well, the feathers are thinner, there's that, but also there's something really neat, and that is, you see the bars here on the tail that run across. If the colouring goes across the rachis or the vein, then it's a goshawk. If it's a buzzard, then the vein is the same colour all the way up. There we are. That goes like that. Now, I can't remember whether it was Steve Roberts or Wayne Percy, 2 fantastic goshawk watchers, who told me that. So if you pick the feather up and the colour runs across the vein, so it's dark, you get dark bands on the vein as well as the feathering, it's a goshawk. That's how you tell. In fact, tomorrow I might put all the feathers that we've had this week together on a chart and show you how to tell the difference for those of you, unlike Shane, who didn't manage to get all of them right. Coming up tomorrow, we've got the fantastic naturalist, journalist and author Patrick Packham, who will be on with his daughter, author of The Butterfly Isles, and he's got a new book coming out soon. I can tell you a bit about that tomorrow. And
Lindsay Chapman, so she's going to be back telling us some of your questions and giving us some fantastic photos and videos that you've been sending in to the South Isolation Bird Club Facebook and Twitter groups.
And guess what we're doing tonight?
Baking cakes.
No, we're watching Danny Boyle's Sunshine because Megan hasn't seen it. I think it's one of the finest sci-fi. The soundtrack is absolutely incredible. The photography is astonishing. And whilst we're all fans of Aliens, of course, and Independence Day, nothing touches Sunshine. Top work from Danny Boyle. That's our evening sorted. I don't know what you're going to do, but, there we are.
Oh, no. That's what I have to put up with every night.
Every night, a little bit of sci-fi, bit of punk rock midnight.
Oh.
See you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.